This Halloween, Fun Master Mike is dressing up as a Grandmaster, because we know I'll never actually be one. Let's take a look at the most Halloween-type opening, the Frankenstein-Dracula. Yes, the actual name. I think white is Frankenstein, black is Dracula. How do we get those names? I have no idea. I am not your resident chess historian, but this begins when white plays knight c3, not knight f3. Okay, knight f6, bishop to c4, and this game becomes a battle of who can trick the other person more. Black plays the first trick, the fourth trick, knight takes e4, and the point is, if knight takes d5, recovers the piece. So, white says, anything you can do, I can do better. After all, I'm Frankenstein. I'm not going to take your knight. Instead, I'm going to play queen to h5, and now black has a big problem. Of course, there's a checkmate coming up on f7, and if you guard it the normal way, let's say with your queen, then after knight takes knight, oopsie daisy, there's nobody at home. That queen is not back on d8. So when we play the fork, white just says thank you very much because there's nothing guarding that pawn. So we need to go back. Black has to stop the checkmate, and black has to worry about the knight. So the best move for black is knight back to d6. Now white could make the game really boring by capturing, and then black would trade queens. We'd play an endgame in the video, and that would be very fun. So what white often does is drops the bishop back to d3, and black says, okay, you're going to give me the extra pawn, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to play the move knight c6. But then white goes for another trick. It's a deflection tactic. This knight is the only piece guarding the checkmate. So white plays knight to b5, trying to deflect or distract, whatever your favorite D word is. If the knight is decoyed, hey, there's another one, and captures, then of course we have a checkmate on f7. So white is now pressing black hard. Black is in deep trouble. Black's about to just have the knight captured, and then the checkmate's going to happen anyway. So in this position, white is giving black all kinds of problems. Black does not want to play queen e7 because that will allow a fork on c7. So black should play this move g6, forcing the white queen away. But now, the white queen resumes the threat. She goes back to f3, same idea. If we capture the knight, then checkmate on f7. So black plays f5, stopping the checkmate. One of the rare times Fun Master Mike says you can move your f-pawn. But then white says, where there's a will, there's a way. My queen's going around the world, making a battery and still aiming at the checkmate in case this knight runs away or is captured. So now black, kind of panicking, has to play the move queen e7 to guard that checkmate. And it looks like white's trickery has worked because white can now take on c7, forking the king and the rook. And when the black king moves, white captures the rook, and black is down a rook at the beginning of the game. But the cool thing about the Frankenstein-Dracula, these are two hard monsters to kill, and Dracula makes a comeback. Black often plays this move b6, and it looks like black's idea is to trap this knight when it gets to b7. So white plays knight f3. After all, white has to continue developing at some point. Black plays bishop to b7, and white may think that this knight is in danger and is just going to get captured. So white might play a move like d3, but black gets the last laugh. Black does not take the knight. Black actually traps the white queen right in the middle of the board. That's our final trick of the game. Knight to d4, and yes, it is important that you choose d4. It's a discovered attack on the queen. You can look all around your screen and try to find a safe square for the queen. You're not going to find one, except you might think the queen can take. After all, the knight supports the queen, but this is why our knight went to d4. We throw in the in-between move, knight takes knight check. That allows the queen to be captured for free. And when white takes, we finally win the queen. And oh, by the way, it's check. We're still going to be able to take that knight at the end. So it would seem that Dracula wins over Frankenstein in the Frankenstein-Dracula. Happy Halloween, chess kids!